I started at the same place that you have already, the internet, to figure out where can I get a high top for my van. I quickly realized that there are only a few companies that do it, and they charge between $5,000 and $8,000 to have one made and installed onto your van. Plus, they were across the country from me here in Florida, so that just really wasn't an option that I wanted to go through. So I need to figure out kind of what topper can I put on my van, and what years are compatible, what style do I want to go with, things like that. The first thing to figure out is what roofs are going to be compatible with my van so that I can purchase the proper roof. I jumped over to Wikipedia to the Ford E-Series page and looked to realize that I have a 4th generation Ford E250. Now I know that I have a 4th generation because I have a 2006 and they started making the 4th generation in 1992 and they still make them today. Now I do want to point out that in June of 14 they actually stopped making cargo and passenger vans, and I do have a passenger van. For my purposes, I know that I need to look for a 1992 to a 2014 E-Series van. Doesn't matter if it's cargo or passenger. And the only other variable is, do you have a regular short wheelbase, like a shorter van, or do you have the longer extended van? And I already know that I have the extended van, so that was pretty simple. The next thing I want to figure out is what style topper. So I jumped over to Fiberglass's website. After a Google search, I found that they made a lot of different toppers. So looking at their full-size vans, because that's what the Ford Econoline is, I looked at lots of different styles that are out there. Now I knew that I wanted more of a flat top on the roof because I wanted to put solar, Starlink, and a vent fan up there. So I didn't want more of like the bubble top style or the rounded roofs. I wanted more of a flat roof. And I also knew that I did not want a really tall topper because I knew we were going to be taking it off-road, and the taller your van is, the higher the center of gravity. And also low trees, could be a problem on forest roads and stuff like that. So that kind of narrowed it down for me to look at more of the low flat top styles, which they refer to as this transit style top. I decided that this was kind of the one that I liked the best, and I noticed they listed it at a 24-inch top. So that was going to give me another 2 feet inside. So then I was thinking, okay, well, can I stand up inside with the 24-inch addition? So I measured my van, added 24 inches to it, subtracted 1 inch for insulation, and was like, oh, this is going to be perfect. I'm only 5'10", so I can stand up in here. Our van is a little over 6 foot on the inside. Another thing I did is I jumped over to Toughport's website, which they have an excellent website. They make tops as well. And looking at their excellent graphic here, I could see that with the type of top that they have, which is a similar height to the one that I'm looking for, they had between a 6'2" and a 6'4" interior height, which was going to be excellent for me. So that narrowed it down to me looking for a 24-inch transit top style. Now the quest for finding the high top can begin. Now I do want to mention that if you go to our website, we do have an article talking more in depth about this, so feel free to check that out. It is free, and no, this video is not sponsored or anything like that. But right on the website here, on our website, I do have a link to carpart.com. This is the website that I found our junkyard high topper at. Carpart.com, again, not a sponsor, literally is what all the junkyards tend to use to list their inventories. I went here, put in a 2006. You might want to change the years because they'll all work between 92 and 14. Then I chose an E250, but of course you can choose a 150 or a 350. They're all the same roofs, and that's what I'm looking for anyways. And when you change this, you may get a different result. And then I looked for a roof. So I just typed in roof. Pretty simple, put in my zip code and hit search. Once I hit the search button, it asked me a clarifying question. Do I want a cutaway, a regular, or an extended van? Well, we already know from our notes that we have an extended van. And do I want one with windows or without windows? Now, I know that either one will work, and so this is another thing that I would change just to get different results. So for now, I'm going to look without windows, get some results here, and it really is combing through a lot of different not so great pictures, and a lot of the information isn't listed that great either. But the great thing is, normally when you call them, they're usually pretty good. You may have to have your stock number here, which is listed. But when you call them, give them the stock number and ask questions, they usually will have the answers. And if not, they may even send someone out to the yard to take a look at it for you or to send you pictures. So here's another high top here. Looks like a 30-incher. But you see how this has these side doors here for the handicap? That's going to be a real pain to figure out later. I don't have a handicap van. and I don't want a giant hole in the side, so I didn't even consider any of these, but you do see quite a few of those. I think it took me about 6 weeks to find our topper, and it was in Virginia, so I did have to make a trip for it, but I saved a lot of money. Here's a great candidate right here. This looks kind of like the topper I'm looking for. It looks flat on the top. I can see the driver's side of the van. I don't really see any damage to the topper. I got a picture here of the rear. I don't really see any damage. I do see these have tall doors in the rear, but this looks like an easy thing to overcome. It's just a simple opening in the back, which is what I end up doing on ours. And I can even see the passenger side of the van here, and I don't see those big handicap doors. So this is a great contender. In fact, this looks pretty much just like the topper that I ended up going with. Maybe it's a little bit taller than the one that we have, but the great thing is here, looking at this, I can see it's from a 2010. I know that will fit. It's from an extended van. I know that's good. I can see the stock number here. My next step would then be to give them a call and to ask some questions about this, ask them how tall it is. I had several different junkyards go out and measure it for me. The top that I ended up finding when I called them, they were really awesome. They actually went out, took several pictures of it for me, took measurements for me, and texted it to me to make sure that I was going to be good with the top, because I was coming from Florida to Virginia, and I made that clear. I'm like, hey, I'm coming from Florida to Virginia. I just want to make sure the top isn't damaged or have any issues or anything like that. If you can send me some more information. They want to sell these things, so they have the time. A lot of times they'll be able to do this for you. And I asked them for the price. Some of them list the price, some of them you have to call for. And I also found some of the times when I would call, the price they had listed is not what they would tell me on the phone. So just keep that all in mind. While I was editing the video, I realized there was no real footage of me showing you how tall it is in here. So as you can see, I'm 5'10", I'm standing up in here, no problem, plenty of room up above. This is with a 24-inch riser. We do have 1 inch of XPS foam insulation above this, which is just glued in. So no like rafters or, you know, framework or anything like that. You see a lot of people do, which makes the vans really heavy. And then we have just aluminum. This is really thin sheet metal that we riveted in. And again, that's just glued to the XPS foam, and then places like our storage up front helps hold it up. You know, our cabinetry helps hold it up, stuff like that. So we did a very lightweight, simple build. I'll throw some pictures up so you can kind of see that, because I'm not going to do a video about insulating it and all that stuff. There's so many videos about insulating a van out there. So, and it's a controversial topic. In my opinion, we don't have air conditioning. Yes, insulation is important. However, most of the time, like right now, for example, the windows are cracked and you have a vent fan on or your vent fan's open. So most of the time you're trying to air it out, and whatever temperature it is outside, it's probably going to be the same temperature in here. Obviously at night, if you're trying to keep it warm or you're somewhere cold, you're running your heater, then you want heavy insulation. Or if you're somewhere hot and you want to keep it cold because you have an air conditioner, then you're going to want the insulation. But we tend to just try to follow weather that we enjoy being in outside, and so we didn't worry too much about insulation. We definitely wanted to insulate the roof and the, you know, the actual fiberglass portion we put on, because it was such thin fiberglass and it's hot in Florida and we didn't want the heat kind of beaming down on it. So that's why we did the 1 inch of XPS foam, which, yeah, very simple to do. I think that pretty much wraps it up for this video. If you have any questions, please leave them. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. If you're looking for information about how we actually installed this topper, I did a whole video on that, so check that out. And don't forget, check out the website for the free article over there and the link to the junkyard search. But it was pretty simple. Honestly, it just took me some time to find it, you know, going through all the junkyards and then installing the top. And we've had it on here for over a year. It's been excellent. And we're actually currently in Canada doing a trip this summer and fall, so make sure you subscribe to check out that content. Catch you later.